Hello, everyone. Welcome to this special podcast to launch the spring 2025 issue of Kingston Business Journal. I'm your host, Michael Curran. In this podcast, we'll preview the latest issue of the Kingston Business Journal, a sister publication to the Ottawa Business Journal. We've got a great lineup of guests joining us. In just a second, we'll talk to the editor responsible for this publication. We've also got the head of Kingston-based Launch Lab. And finally, we'll speak with two investment specialists from Kingston Economic Development. Let's get things rolling today with the person who led this editorial project. Here's the editor-in-chief of the Kingston Business Journal. Welcome to Anne Howland. Hey, Anne.
Hi, Mike. Good to see you.
Good to see you. So tell us about the new issue. What does it contain?
Sure. So exciting times, I think, for, well, pretty much everyone in the country, I guess, but also here in Eastern Ontario. So our focus with this issue was to really look at the priorities that for Eastern Ontario businesses and industry associations as regards the federal election that's coming up at the end of this month. So we wanted to hear what was important for them and what they'd like to see a new federal government prioritize and focus on.
For sure. A bit of a primer on the federal election from a local business perspective was good. I read it through. It was really interesting. And what are some of the other stories that stood out to you, Anne?
Well, in terms of Kingston, there's all sorts of interesting things going on there. We talked a bit about the future of the Kingston Penitentiary, or the Pen, as it's fondly known. You may know that the federal government listed it so that it was potentially a candidate for some type of a development project, but there's some debate about that in Kingston because, of course, it's also now a tourism draw, as well as brings in a lot of money into the community when it does movies and different, productions like that on site. So there's some debate about whether it should really be a candidate for housing development.
It's a great tour. I was on it, I think, last summer. It's a very, very busy tour, by the way, but fascinating to get a look inside the prison. Anything else that you wanted to highlight, Dan, before we wrap?
Well, maybe just to go back to the federal election story, if I may, and there were some important priorities for Kingston that came out there for sure. Maybe that sets Kingston a bit apart from the rest of Eastern Ontario, but one of those to me was the importance of innovation, and we definitely heard from Kingston business people that they'd like to see continued support from the federal government on innovation issues, and obviously the need to explore other foreign markets, given the situation U.S. Canada at the moment. And we also heard about things like infrastructure. I mean, Kingston is in kind of a fortunate but unfortunate spot between major cities, and they have some challenges with road infrastructure, with the airport, with just having people have access to their city and to their larger cities surrounding them. So that was an interesting one. And then I think finally tourism. We just talked a bit about the Kingston Pen and its role in tourism, but I think there's an appreciation of what the federal government has done to support tourism in the city and in the larger region. And we heard from a lot of people that it's important that continue.
Just a quick note on infrastructure. It is a recurring theme from many of the municipal leaders across Eastern Ontario that the big cities are getting all the attention, and meanwhile, a lot of infrastructure is crumbling in cities and towns. So that's a big issue. Yeah. Well, thanks, Anne, for all your work on this issue. We appreciate everything you've did.
Thanks, Mike.
Thanks again to Anne and her team for this latest issue of Kingston Business Journal, which also includes, by the way, 25 surprising things made in Eastern Ontario, also the 2025 Eastern Ontario Vacation Guide. If you're an entrepreneur today, you need to clearly understand the need for digital marketing. The problem is many entrepreneurs are so busy hustling for business or filling urgent staffing needs that marketing often gets neglected. There's a program in Kingston called Digital Lead Generators. Here to tell us more about this is the CEO and entrepreneur in residence at Launch Lab. Please welcome Scott Runté. Hello, Scott.
Michael, how are you, sir?
I'm very good. I'm very good. I'm very happy to talk to you, Scott. We've known each other for lots of years, and it's always good to see you.
Absolutely. In fact, we were together at the launch of Norm's Golf and Social, which is one of our digital lead generator clients back in the fall. So it was
That's
great to have you
right.
down in our region, and
Yeah.
great to have the support
A
for an
cool
emerging
spot.
Kingston business. Yeah.
Yeah, a cool spot. So we're going to talk digital marketing a little bit, but in fact, Launch Lab, of course, Scott, is much bigger than this particular program. Zoom out for us and tell us about Launch Lab in general.
Yeah. So, frame it this way. We're a group of entrepreneurs helping entrepreneurs. And I like to think of Launch Lab. It's a not-for-profit organization, part of a network of 17 regional innovation centers operating in the province of Ontario, funded through the Ministry of Economic Development, Job Creation and Trade. And so it's a very connected network. These 17 centers cover the entire province. And collectively, our core competency is the been there, done that group of entrepreneurs that want to, through providing advice, help companies that are starting, growing, or trying to scale their business. So for us here in Eastern Ontario, we're thrilled to have the opportunity to do that in a region covering the Cornwall area to Belleville, north into Lanark County, bordering on the western edge of Ottawa. But our main office being focused here in the Kingston region, and so that's who we are. We are here to provide confidential advice to entrepreneurs tailored to their business as they face the opportunities or challenges as they grow.
Yeah, entrepreneurs helping entrepreneurs. I like it. By the way, the new issue has some profiles of some of the entrepreneurs who are helping, so people can check that out. But let's talk digital marketing. As I set things up here a little bit, and thinking even of Norm at the golf center, many entrepreneurs, not all, but many, have a challenge when it comes to digital marketing. So in the case of Norm, for example, he might be an expert in how to operate a virtual golf center, or how to run a kitchen or a bar. But they get so engrossed in this, Scott, that they have to push social media, digital marketing to the side of their desk, and they kind of suffer from that. So you launched something called Digital Lead Generators. Tell us about the program.
Yeah, thank you. It's, again, thinking about what we do being advisors, we're here to advise companies. We're not here typically to do the work for them. But as part of that, one of the things we discovered is that our advisory team can hopefully provide good advice, but it always was left to the companies and the entrepreneurs to tactically implement that. Let me take you back quickly to the pandemic. 2019, 2020, we found ourselves in this brave new world, and the governments of the day started to look at how could we support Main Street businesses, because as we all remember, right, suddenly nothing was open, and the ability to run your business changed overnight. And so we found ourselves as part of a program, an integrated program across the region, helping Main Street businesses get their businesses online, get a website set up, be able to really adapt to something that was, that changed overnight for everyone. And so through that program, we were able to work with young marketing professionals that had graduated from universities, colleges, and we formed 10 teams of 5 marketing professionals that worked with over 200 businesses in a 10-month period. And they were employees of this government funding, and we managed the program. We saw the impact that had. And when the funding for that program ended, as we were coming out of the pandemic, our team and I at Launch Lab said, we can't lose the momentum. We saw the impact that this had. And so we actually hired 3 of the people that had worked within that program, 3 of the bright stars, and there were many, to form this digital lead generators team. And so our advisors can provide the strategic advice to help a company understand what they should be doing from a marketing perspective. Our DLG team can help you tactically implement that. Typically at a time when you don't have your own marketing team, you're maybe thinking about you should be hiring a consultant. We can come in and kind of combine this, and we don't want to own the client forever. We actually want to help them understand how to use marketing effectively, so that when they hire their own marketing team, or they engage with a marketing agency or firm, that they understand how to get the most out of that activity to ultimately help them drive sales and drive their brand.
It probably helps to demystify it a little bit. And I sense that when they get a look at the analytics behind a lot of digital marketing, they go, oh, okay, this is something we cannot ignore.
Absolutely. And, really looking at it from an ROI perspective, right? If I'm going to, as a business owner, if I'm going to invest in a marketing effort, what do I need to be doing to make sure that the leads that marketing effort creates can be properly cultivated and managed so that they ultimately turn into sales,
Yeah.
right? And so I think that it's proven to be a very effective program to support that strategic marketing and sales advice that many of our advisors are giving to clients.
Yeah.
And it came out of the investments that were made in the pandemic, which, we live in challenging times right now. And so when there's uncertainty in the environment, I think, speaking as a CEO, speaking as an entrepreneur myself, I really love to see effective investments in marketing to help drive sales.
Yeah, and that's reflected in the name of the program, Digital Lead Generator. Like, this isn't just about gaining some Facebook or Instagram followers. You're doing business here. You mentioned challenges, and maybe we'll wrap up on that note, Scott. You spent many years in Kingston. You talked to dozens and dozens of companies. We're living in, just like the pandemic, maybe not quite the same, but challenging times. Tell us what you're hearing from some of these local businesses.
Yeah, chaos. I frame it that way. I think one of the biggest problems right now is uncertainty. We're seeing with the Canada-U.S. trade relationships, and certainly right across the country, but certainly here in Eastern Ontario, it's upended the business model for many of our existing clients, and for new clients, young companies starting and growing, wanting to sell into the ecosystem, both here in Canada and abroad. This uncertainty, is really creating a challenge. It's really hard to plan what we're going to do in the next month, next quarter, next year, if we don't even know if the rules of today are going to be the same tomorrow or next week. And where I think it's similar to the pandemic slowly, we started to understand what we were up against, and we adapted. And yes, there were challenges, but eventually, we figured out how we were going to operate in this new environment. I hope that, we can get to a point where we can believe with this new reality that there's at least some certainty as to how the economic environment is going to operate. So for us at Launch Lab, we're actively right now looking at how can we, as we've always done, try to support our entrepreneurs in the region, working with our partners, like Kingston Economic Development or the other economic development agencies across the region, our post-secondary institutions, our other partnerships, our other regional innovation centers, whether it's Invest Ottawa in Ottawa or Spark Center in Oshawa, Durham. We look at Eastern Ontario as this innovation corridor collectively, and we are looking for ways that we can support businesses. For me, Michael, it's as simple as this. If you're a Canadian business or an Eastern Ontario business, you need to be looking at ways to diversify your markets within Canada and everywhere else in the world other than the United States. The United States can still be an effective market for you, but if you're totally reliant on that, then you're exposing yourself to a lot of risk. So that's what my hope is as we move forward. And we're going to be actively looking at ways that we can support our entrepreneurs. So here at Launch Lab, if you're facing some uncertainty, if you think you've got some opportunities, this team of advisors, three of which we've showcased in this upcoming edition of the magazine, we're here to listen, and we're here to try and help you make the best possible decisions.
And give us, just as we wrap up, your URL, your website address.
Yeah, so launchlab.ca. It's the first stop. It should get you to all of the programs that we offer. Whether it's marketing support, we have tremendous programs supporting companies commercializing IP, which has been a strong focus here in the region, and as well as just a general strategic advice. And you can read about all our advisors. Our profiles are up there, and we'd love to talk to you. So, and a shout out to you and the team at the Ottawa Business Journal and the Eastern Ontario Business Journal, because We want to be a voice for innovation in our region. We want to tell the stories through the eyes of our clients, because we think this is a great place to start and grow a business. And, it's with partnerships like this, Michael, that we get to tell that story. So thank you.
Thanks to you, Scott. Appreciate the support. Well, thank you for sharing all of the advice and the good work that you're doing in these uncertain times to support local entrepreneurs. Thanks again, Scott. All right, that was Scott Runté from Kingston-based Launch Lab. Before we move on to our final segment, please watch this video from Kingston Economic Development.
Grab your bag, pack your coat, walk on out through the door, to the street, to the highway. You and me will go explore by the sea. Read the stories from your book, tie the lines onto the hook, take a picture by the street, be the best friends we can be, you and me. It's gonna be a good day. All the people we could meet, all the beauty we could see, endless possibility, all the love we'll ever need, It's gonna be a good day. Chase our shadows down the bay, watch the seagulls fly away, hope to see the Milky Way, say I love you by the way, by the way. It's gonna be a good day.
If you like that video, you'll love our next segment. We're going to do a deeper dive into Kingston's economy. We have not one, but two investment specialists from Kingston Economic Development who are going to share their expertise on manufacturing and life sciences. Let's welcome our guest now. First, here is Abdul Jendi, the investment manager, Sustainable Manufacturing. Hello, Abdul.
Hi, Michael. Thank you for having us.
It's my pleasure. And second, here is Ben McIlquham, investment manager of Health Innovation. Welcome to you, Ben.
Hello.
And a quick reminder that both of these sectors are covered in our latest issue. Abdul, we're going to start with you. Tell us what's happening in manufacturing in Kingston, Abdul.
Well, I mean, it's been great for manufacturing in Kingston, especially with the diversity. We do have our strengths in chemistry and metallurgy, which allows us to tap into specialty chemicals, advanced alloys, and as well as process development and new material, advanced materials, whether they're going to be used in the aerospace industry or automotive sector. So we've been very lucky with the companies we have. In terms of diversifying, they're really tapping into the Canadian market as well as international markets. In terms of entrepreneurs, lots of opportunities for prototyping as well as piloting, whether it's process or exploring new materials.
Okay, really, really interesting. Thanks for that overview, Abdul. Tell us a little bit about your job and how you're helping to encourage the manufacturing center. What role are you and your friends at Kingston Economic Development playing?
Well, I mean, we're the manufacturers. I mean, I'm the manufacturer's first contact point, whether they're looking to grow their team, train their team, looking to expand, grow, or even trade with new markets. We help them through all these processes. As well as one big role we have is foreign direct investment attraction into Kingston. This is in line with our integrated economic development strategy, which we developed with the city and various stakeholders. So we're continuously on the hunt for new investments that complete our ecosystem and keeps it growing. So some of the sectors we're currently focusing on, of course, for the past couple of years, it was the EV and battery supply chain.
Yes.
We've been lucky with the chemical talent and metallurgy talent, which really helps us compete with regions, but also with the electronics sector, which is on the rise, as well as the chip design and chip material development.
And you can't talk manufacturing these days, Abdul, without thinking of the trade war that's going on. There's so many manufacturers being concerned about the escalation of tariffs. What are you hearing from some of your clients?
Yeah, well, Kingston is in a unique position. As you know, we have one of the biggest employers is Novelis in town, and they do aluminum. Most of their market is the US, so lots of cross-border shipping. As well as we do have an aluminum boat manufacturer here in Kingston, so Metalcraft Marine. So they've been affected, naturally with these tariffs, but we've been supporting them with some federal programs to mitigate that risk. Many companies have been affected differently. Some when they source their materials from the US, so they're looking at alternative sources. Many of them achieved that within the local market, looking at Quebec and as far as BC. And others are looking for new markets, new partnerships with companies in Europe. And I would say we're trending fairly well. We expected it to be harsher, but luckily we have strong business leaders, and they managed to navigate these waters perfectly.
Yeah, it's interesting, Abdul, you say that because, thinking back to the pandemic, we saw lots of evidence that the stronger companies can actually excel in these difficult times. So it's not necessarily all negative news. Ben, let's bring you into the conversation. Abdul focuses on sustainable manufacturing. You're involved in investment and attracting investment in health science sector. Ben, tell us more about what's happening from a life and health sciences perspective.
Yeah, so the health and life science sector in Kingston is definitely growing. We're lucky we have a faculty of health here at Queen's, engineering, biology, and chemistry, kind of like the key areas of studies you need to have a life science sector. So we've just recently been announced, we've got FedDev funding for life sciences here in Kingston, which aligns perfectly with the provincial taking life sciences to the next level strategy and the federal Canadian biomanufacturing life sciences strategy. So we're in line with 3 levels of government with this funding to help support and grow the life sciences sector in Kingston.
And when I was reading this latest issue, it seems like one of the big benefits to come out of that investment is some wet labs, I think they're called. Ben, is that true? And did I read that right? And what's the importance of wet labs?
So Ontario across the board is short on wet lab space, and Kingston was definitely in that space. So we had no wet lab space available for these more early stage companies to access. So this will biosafety level 2 lab. It'll be a co-working lab space, so it won't be individual lab space, but a lot of starting companies need access to this space and the specialty equipment that will be in there. And then there'll be some support for them to use this space and equipment to help validate their product or service and move the TR level up to market readiness.
And Ben, similar to what I asked Abdul, if there's an entrepreneur listening to this, an executive from a major corporation, how can you support them in investments in the health sciences sector in Kingston?
So now with this new program we do have funding that companies can apply for to access what we're calling the validation network. And there's 22 different partners and organizations within this validation network. And it can be accessed to specialty equipment at Queen's through chemistry, biology, faculty of health to help validate or commercialize a product. And we also have industry partners. So if you needed 3D printing, prototyping, production equipment, consulting services for Health Canada FDA approval, you have access to that. We have business support programs as well. We'll have a Build to Scale life sciences program run by Queen's done to just launch a innovation center, so entrepreneurs can really focus dedicated time onto a new product or service they're trying to bring to market, and then also access to the wet lab space.
That's great. Thank you, Ben, for sharing that. Abdul, maybe we'll give the final word to you. It seems like all the talk, or a lot of the talk, we're not going to talk politics here, but is about diversifying the Canadian economy and looking beyond the U.S. to more trading partners. Any thoughts on how Kingston can diversify its economy, Abdul?
Well, I mean, Kingston has a unique location in between the Toronto, Montreal, and Ottawa. So, in terms of geography, we're very lucky. We're very fortunate. Many companies choose Kingston to serve these three metropolitan regions, and also at some point to serve the U.S. market. So, especially companies from Europe, they served the market from North American market from Kingston solely. In terms of diversifying, we're always keeping up with the trending sectors where private investment and where government funding is going. We also keep an eye on policy in terms of whether it's hydrogen, whether it's renewable energy, clean technologies. And that we use that as a guide to which sectors we would like to invite to Kingston.
Well, there's lots more potential in Kingston. You've outlined, both of you, lots of the advantages of doing business there. That's all the time we have, though, gentlemen. So to both you, Abdul and Ben, I want to say thank you for joining us today.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We'll see you soon. That was Abdul Jendi and Belle McIlquham. And that brings us to the end of this podcast. I hope you enjoyed these conversations and got a good preview of Kingston Business Journal, as well as the local economy in Kingston. Here are a few details about the publication you should know: that copies will be distributed through Canada Post. So if you got a commercial address, you're probably going to see one of those. We'll also have some copies available at select racks across the city, including the KEDCO offices. And if you're looking for the digital edition, please visit obj.ca/Kingston-Business-Journal. That's appearing on screen. That's all the time we have for today. On behalf of our partners at Launch Lab and Kingston Economic Development, thank you for joining us. Stay local, stay strong. Thanks for tuning in, everyone. Bye-bye.